didn't listen to me then, I bet they feel me now. Time don't let me lose it. The booth not about to prove it. I set goals and pursue it. You the best to never do it. Invest my money talking fluent, stupid, ducking the Judas. It broke my heart, but over my eyes, you have no honor, I have no choice. Chasing the commas till I'm gone. I've been left for a minute. On my way home, mama, I promise, got caught up in it. Damn. Everybody eats when I'm batting at the plate. First, second, third, home, $1 million base.
Oh, baby. We back.
That Hotep Jesus dude.
What's up, y'all? It's Friday. TGI Friday. We made it. Shout out to my people tuning in on Rumble. Hotep TV on Rumble. In case you didn't know, Uncle Hotep, Cannon Hotep, and myself, we all stream on Rumble. So make sure you guys subscribe over there. Lots of new changes coming to Rumble soon, too. They're doing some 100% revenue share for content creators. So that's going to be pretty cool. I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be extremely useful for content creators like myself. So we appreciate the effort. I know Elon has done the same. I mean, that's the only way you're really going to be able to defeat or compete against big tech, I guess you can say Google and those boys. Shout out to my people in Austin, Texas. I'll be in Austin, Texas in 2 weeks, 25th to the 27th, with the Syscoin team. That's going to be fun. I'll be at the Rolux party. It's going to be fascinating. I can't wait to get down there and pick Jack's brain again. He's like a super genius. You know, people call me a genius. Jack's a super genius. And really knowledgeable about finance, tech, fintech, crypto, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm looking forward to being there. So I'll be in Austin, Texas with the Syscoin team in 2 weeks. Shout out to my people. Cheers to you guys. I wrote an article on menofwater.com today. Will AI destroy humanity? Go check that out. We're not going to talk about it today, but go check that out. Just a little bit of prep for my debate tonight. I got debate tonight here on this channel against Cyprian. We are going to be debating the topic of AI and its dangers. Yeah. So make sure you tune in. I'll be setting that stream up for that. In the near future. Yeah, so that's that. I'm sorry, I'm over here doing two things at once. Sometimes my mind remembers something. It's like, hey, you didn't do this. And I'm like, wait, you know, like having a schedule is crazy and hectic. So, but anyway, let's dive into our subject matter here. We got a few things to discuss today. We're going to start off with some of the light stuff. We're going to run through that, spend about an hour with you here. Then we'll open up the phone lines, 202-596-5631. You can write that number down, 202-596-5631. We're going to talk about Cleopatra, the Biden admin, Ron DeSantis, Um, and let's pull this up on the screen. This is kind of wild. I saw this come across my feed last night. I'm like, what the hell? I guess they have AI doing the transcripts, I guess. You know, some sort of bot is doing the transcripts, because surely if a human was doing Biden's transcripts, it wouldn't it wouldn't put this. So it says here, Inside Paper says new White House's website includes a "lick the world" phrase in the remarks delivered by Biden during Ireland visit. And if you look here, it says, "So thank you all, God bless you all, and let's go, lick the world, let's get it done." I'm speculating here, okay? I believe that as Biden's brain deteriorates, we should expect more and more Freudian slips. Now, we spoke about this earlier this week when it came to the Dalai Lama. And we know what happened with him and the little boy. But a lot of symbolism takes place that reveals the agenda. And as we talked about before, when you're talking about Satan, the Satanists believe that they have to tell you their agenda before they carry it out. This is their pact. I guess this is the pact that Satan and God have with each other. Something to that effect. I don't know. I'm not an expert on Satan or Satanism. So yeah. So lick the world. Dalai Lama and the little boy. Do you guys see what's going on here? Some freaky mess is happening in the world. All right, I'm not going to speak about that anymore because, well, it's just not worth my time. That's all that needs to be said about that. Let's dive into some pettiness. Look at this pettiness. So here it says Sydney Adudong has been cast as Nani in Disney's live-action adaptation of Lilo and Stitch. Now, hold on. That's not the tweet I wanted to show. Oh, here it is. I'm sorry. Here's the tweet I wanted to show you. This person here, her name is, this is, it looks like a her, you know, I'm getting pronouns correct here, hopefully. Calico. So Calico looks like a real person, 8,000 followers, good, following, the follower ratio, looks like an organic count, looks like a real person here. And they say if Halle Bailey can be Little Mermaid, then Sydney Agudong can be Nani. Now, if you look here, this woman appears to be black, African American, whatever. We share a lot of the same followers, or I wouldn't say a lot, but some of the same followers, and they're all black, which to me, I would surmise that this is a black person. So you have some people who have complained, right? They go, wait, why is a white woman playing this black girl from Lilo and Stitch? And as she rightly points out, like, well, if Halle Bailey can be Little Mermaid, then she can surely play this role. And to that, I agree. I completely agree with that. She's right. And I'm saying this from a place of, it's a cartoon. Like humanity is so bored that now we're arguing over the race of cartoons. This is how bored we are. We have way too much time on our hands. We are just not productive enough. The important matters that need to be discussed aren't discussed. Everything that's discussed right now is all emotionalism, because emotionalism is subjective much of the time. And it's just an easy conversation to have when you're just speaking from your own subjective point of view. We're not dealing in facts. You don't have to do any studying to tell somebody how you feel. You don't have to do any reading to tell somebody how you feel. You don't have to do any research to tell anybody how you feel. You know how you feel. So it's emotions versus emotions and very little logic, but logic would dictate that Miss Calico here is correct. So let's put that in juxtaposition to the next tweet. Bring this up on your screen. Hold on, wait, I just missed it. Bookmarks, here we go. All right, here we go. Put this on your screen. Right there, boom, boom. So it says here, cancel Queen Cleopatra on Netflix for falsifying history and sign the petition. Now, this one is hilarious. So where I can understand being upset at a distortion of history. However, it is not clear to me yet that this in fact is a distortion of history. It's not clear to me yet. It appears to be on the surface. And I have not done any investigation on this. So let's do that now. Let's pull up Cleopatra. Now, Netflix doc. Now, Jada Pinkett Smith is behind this. Apparently, she's a producer in this thing here. And there's a trailer. So let's go ahead. Let's pull up the trailer. Let's watch the trailer together. I think that's fair. Hold on. I ain't coming home. Okay, so let's put this on the screen. Let's boom and then boom. Okay, cool. So here's the trailer. Get this on your screen so we can all see this together. And let's objectively analyze. Because race is a hot topic now. Let's analyze what's happening here. All right, you ready? Hold on. Let me spread this out a little bit. And be fair. Let's see. How do they portray Cleopatra here?
There was a time long ago when women
So that sounds like Jada Pinkett Smith is actually narrating this.
ruled with unparalleled power.
Wait, hold on. Let's go back. Let's take a look at this woman. Hold on. Because we're arguing about race here. We got to see, is this a black woman? Hold on. I missed her face there.
When women ruled.
Ooh, that looks like a black woman. That right there looks like a black woman. And we're going to go into Cleopatra's true ethnicity. But that looks like a black woman. Let's continue.
With unparalleled power as warriors, queens, mothers of nations. And there is none among them more iconic than Cleopatra.
I would die for Egypt. What would you die for? I am Isis. I am a god.
As long as she's alive, she is the pharaoh.
My father's will names me co-ruler of Egypt.
Julius Caesar is aware that Cleopatra is one of the best educated women in the Mediterranean.
He wants to be king to Cleopatra's queen.
There is no future without the past.
She was using these relationships with Mark Antony to protect herself and her country.
There is no Rome without Egypt.
Now, I'd like to say that I've watched several documentaries, historical documentaries. They're sort of like, I'm sure there's a term for this, where it's like well, I guess, because there's documentaries and there's documentaries where you got to act it out. But I know they have one on Rome. They have one on the Ottoman Empire. They have one on Trotsky. And I've watched them all. Some of them twice. Specifically the Rome one I know I watched twice. The Ottoman one I want to say I watched once, maybe a couple of episodes twice. But they're really good. They're usually really good. And they're usually pretty accurate. So let's continue. So I'm saying that because this looks like it's following in the line of that type of situation.
Cleopatra was trying to save the country that she loved from destruction. Cleopatra was trying to save
this woman looks
the country.
She doesn't look as black here. She doesn't look as and I'm specifically looking at the texture of her hair. Like, that's not full African texture. That is definitely a mixed race texture. And we're going to go into Cleopatra's lineage in a second here. Or race. And, but she is on the darker side of things. Let's continue.
Country that she loved from destruction.
I did what I had to do to protect what is mine.
This is a woman exercising power. This is
Now here they're trying to make her hair look definitely more ethnic, more African, more black. Here with the way they have her hair done up, they're definitely trying to give her more of a black look. So they are playing that up.
a woman exercising power.
Cleopatra was a Ptolemaic ruler. The very first Ptolemy is a general of Alexander the Great.
It's possible that she was an Egyptian.
I imagine her to have curly hair like me and a similar skin color.
I remember.
Now, look at this guy here. This is an Arab. At least that's what I'm guessing. This is an Arab. And we're going to talk about this in just a moment. We're going to finish watching the trailer. We're going to talk about this in a moment. But he says, I would expect her to look like me. An Arab man. Let's continue.
I remember my grandmother saying to me, I don't care what they tell you in school, Cleopatra was black.
Oh, no, they didn't do it. Oh, no, they didn't do it. Oh, no, they didn't do it. Oh, they did it. Oh, no. Oh, I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt. Oh, no. Oh, my God. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. Damn. See, I didn't want the doc to be about this. You know, and I guess with the commentary, this is a little bit different from the Rome thing that I saw in the Ottoman Empire situation, and even the Trotsky thing, because they got like these authorities speaking on the thing. Damn. They really did it. They really did it. Wow. All right, let's continue.
She has become an icon.
I am a god, queen of kings.
Her story resonates with every woman.
Now, I will say that, hold on, let me find that. I will say that, I will watch this. I will definitely watch this, mostly because I just like history. I'm a history guy. I just enjoy watching historical documentaries. And I think this would be, and the thing is with documentaries is you can't just believe everything they say. It's a launch pad for your research. You find certain things that are of your interest, and then you go out and then you find other sources. And in my method of research is you find a source that contradicts what you've seen or heard or read, et cetera, You find one that corroborates, then you try to find one that's down the middle, and then you draw your own conclusions from there, right? Will I be going to do research into Cleopatra's lineage? No, I don't give a fuck about, you know, if she was black or white. But I did call Shaka last night before Hotep's been told you, and I wanted to definitively get his answer on was Cleopatra black or not. We're going to open up phone lines in a little bit. 202-596-5631, 202-596-5631. Hopefully you took your Master Focus today. I did. I'm feeling good. TryMasterFocus.com. Coupon code 10 off. Now, I asked him, I said, was Cleopatra black? And he quickly responds to me and goes, no. The tone of his voice even sounded resentful. As if, you know, we were purporting claims that were just untrue, and he hates when people purport claims that were untrue. So I asked him, I said, Shaka, was she black? And he says no. Authoritatively. Right? So the next question obviously would be, well, then what was she, Shaka? And Shaka described her as an octoroon. If anybody knows what an octoroon is, this is a mixed race person. Now, if anybody knows anything about Greece, Greece had several different regions, different factions, regimes, whatever you want to call it, right? And there are black Greeks, just like there are black Brits. You know, sometimes when people think of these places, they think that because this place is in Europe, these people had to be all white. Now, there was, for example, Russia, Alexander Pushkin. There were black Russians. You know, this idea that black people weren't, this idea that people weren't intermixing is just absolutely ignorant. Of course people intermixing. Of course they were intermixing. And then when you look at the region that we're talking about here, we're talking about the Mediterranean. The Mediterranean is like the center of the world. This is where the continents meet. This is where Asia and Europe and Africa all meet. India, Persia, Greece, Rome, Egypt, Carthage. And it's based upon geographical conditions. This is a great place to put a harbor. This is a great place to exchange goods and resources. Egypt was a metropolitan society. The best example to give you an idea of what Egypt looked like in this time period, you would have to say New York City. It would be a great comparison. Egypt at this time was a metropolitan region where all types of people came together. Asian, black, white, African, whatever you want to name. You had to do commerce in this, on the Mediterranean. You had to do commerce, whether you were on the European side or the African side. This is the metropolitan area of the world. Okay? So, to say Cleopatra was black is to follow, I guess, the one drop rule. I don't know, where you guys lie and all of that. I don't really, put any brain power to it because I just don't deem that conversation important. But when I defer to my mentor, Shaka Akmos, when I defer to my mentor and I ask him, was she black? And he says no, I'm going to defer to his expertise. He says, no, she was an octoroon. This is a mixed race person. And then we saw in the video, so you got one black woman says Cleopatra was black. Then you got the Arab man that claims she looked like him. So the Arabs trying to claim her, black people trying to claim her, white people want to claim her. So now we have Cleopatra being tugged between all these different races. Leave this woman alone. Leave this woman. Like, if we're going to study this time period, let's study this time period in a way that is productive and edifying. But everybody wants to do the low brain shit, the small brain shit, and go, oh, Cleopatra was black. We did a whole doc on Cleopatra just to talk about if she was black or not. Now, we also have to understand that Cleopatra comes at the end of Egypt's great history. End of the Ptolemaic period. So this is under Roman rule at this point. So, of course, white people are now in Egypt. And this is my problem with the was Egypt black, was Egypt white conversation. And I'm going to make this very simple for everybody so you can go and you can tell other people the truth. Kemet was black. Egypt was mixed /white/Arab.
Hotep, you're a genius. HotepJesus.com.
These are the facts of the matter. Kemet was black. Everything after was Arab and Greek and Roman and white. Egypt went through different time periods. In its inception, when we talk about the Old Kingdom, we're talking about an African black people. Even into the Middle Kingdom, we're talking about an African black people. So when somebody says the original Egyptians were white or they were black, they're not being specific enough. I need you to tell me what time period you're talking about. You talking about Old Kingdom, Middle Kingdom, one of the later dynasties. Which dynasty are you talking about? Because it went through several iterations. It's just ignorant to say Egypt was black. Now, why do I say Kemet was black and Egypt was white? Well, Egypt comes from the Greek term Egyptos. So Egypt is a Greek term. So we got to get that to white folks. So Egypt is white, but Kemet, or Tameri or Tawi, which is ancient Medunetta, which was the language that was spoken during this time period, during the Old Kingdom, Middle Kingdom, etc., by the original Cometians, or the Neter, or the Netcher. This time period is going to be black, and then once you have it called Egypt, it's now Greek, it's now Roman, it's now European. This is the education that people need to have about this time period. If you need to go in more, I would say hire Shaka Akmos and do some lessons with them. I homeschool my kids. We did a field trip. We went out to the Met. We were in Central Park. We were at the Met, and we did a tour with Shaka Akmos. He was our tour guide. I paid him for the day, and he helps educate my children, right? I would suggest you guys do the same. I would suggest you do the same. Penty said, what happened to Kemet? What happened to Kemet? Well, what happened to Kemet is what happens to all great civilizations. Hard times create strong men. Good times create weak men. So after you start to evolve and get better and better, you start to see deterioration. You're seeing that now with America, right? America was doing great when things were hard. Now that things are getting easier, it's starting to look like Greece, right? If you look at Rome, you look at Greece, they all follow Kemet, Greece, Rome, America, Europe. They all follow the same thing, the same pattern, the same cycle. Hard times create strong men. Weak times, good times create weak men. Weak men create hard times, and then the cycle continues. So when you want to know what happened to Kemet, that's what happened to Kemet. What happens to every civilization? Your technology becomes so great that you start having so much free time on your hands that you start to neglect the little things, and then you go back to the beginning. You see what I'm saying? Hispanics claim them also? Oh, man. Wow. Wow. Let me just do some catching up on the chat here, see if there's any questions here I gotta answer. Somebody says she was at most 1/4 African. You know, I would say 1/8, maybe. She may be 1/8 African. Somebody said Cleo had that wop. Oh my God. Strong Dad Protocol said, well, whatever she was messy as F. Had them two white boys tripping. Penty says, was the common person able to move around that easily? No. No, of course, at this time period, the common person wasn't able to move around that easily. Only the most fortunate would be able to move around easily. But if you're in the backwoods and you're far off in the country and word gets to you that there is a better way of life, this common person may take a chance and migrate to the city. And that's why you start to have an inflated population and it becomes a metropolitan city. And then, so now my question begs, if we definitively say that Cleopatra is black or white or Greek or this or that, what do you do with that information? What do you do with that information? That's my big issue. I remember I was at a conference once and a guy came to me and he said, Hotep, you believe Egypt was black? No, first he said, I want to pick your brain and I want to have this, big brain conversation with you. And I'm like, great, let's have a great conversation. And he was like, so you think Egypt was black? And then I was disappointed because I'm like, We could have a big brain conversation, and out of all the things I've said, this is what you want to talk to me about? So my response to him was, hold on a second. If Egypt was black or it was white, whichever side you choose, after we decide that is the truth, let's say Egypt was white, after we decide that truth, what do we do with that information from there? And all I got from him was the fluoridated blank stare. Because you can't do anything with that information except inflate the ego of a race of people, which tends to be no good. Has very short-term benefits and potentially long-term consequences, dire consequences, right? Because inflated ego sometimes is just too much to control, too much to handle. So that's why I don't deal in, all of this stuff. It's much better to tell history as it is, but learn from the actions of these people. Let's learn from the actions of Kemet. Let's learn from the actions of Egypt. Let's learn from the actions of Greece, Rome, and every other empire that existed before us, so we don't make those same mistakes. We're going to open up the phone line soon. 202-596-5631. 202-596-5631. Let's go to the next topic. I'm not talking about this shit anymore. We got more important stuff to talk about. But that's how I feel about that matter. This is what the internet is complaining about. So now there's a petition going around, saying cancel Cleopatra, I guess. Now that shit's just dumb as hell to me. Let's look at this. I mean, if you want to sign it, free will is free will. But here it is. Cancel Cleopatra on Netflix for falsifying history. Afrocentrism is a pseudoscience that is pushing a group's agenda to claim Egypt's history and rob the actual Egyptians from it by using false articles and zero evidence. They are still attempting to falsify history. Cleopatra was born in Alexandria, Egypt, in the Ptolemaic dynasty to Greek descent. She was not black. Now, this part is correct. This paragraph right here isn't nuanced enough, and I already explained to you, because it's like when you talk about Egypt, what time period are we talking about? Are we talking about Egypt? We talking about Kemet? Do you even know the term Kemet? Do you know the term Deseret? Do you know these terms? Anyway, let's continue. This is in no way against black people, and it's simply a wake-up call to preserve the history and integrity of the Egyptians and the Greeks. The show is clearly done to complement the Afrocentric movement, which claims to be the owner of the ancient Egyptian civilization. Egypt was never black, and it was never white. Egypt is just Egypt. Now, that's a good sentence. I like that. That's fair. There are many great African black civilizations, but Egypt is not one of them. No, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. This is just false. It's just false. But again, it depends. Does he mean Egypt as in Egyptos during the Ptolemaic period? Or is he talking about, does he know the difference between Kemet and Egypt when he says this, right? Because that's the differentiation. Is he talking about just the Ptolemaic period? Is he talking about just the time period where they've renamed this place Egypt? So this is where things get a little more nuanced than that. But he wants 150,000 signatures, and they've gotten 78,000. 78,000 people have taken time to sign this petition. Now, I get it, whatever. I think it's stupid. That's just my personal opinion, being subjective, right? It's just like, you want to cancel the Netflix documentary. I'm like, all right, whatever. Why don't you just, my thing is combat falsities with facts. That's simple. Just come out with your own documentary. Or instead of doing this, or if you were gonna, let's say this, if you were gonna do this petition and you make these claims, don't be lazy and give me 1, 2, let's call it 3 paragraphs. He's bunched it into two, but let's call it 3 paragraphs, right? At least provide the information there. Support your evidence with facts and sources. Where are your citations for the claims that you make? That is a better way to handle this situation, in my opinion. That's a much better way to handle this situation, in my opinion. You dig what I'm saying? This is what people are wasting their time on. Anyway, Anyway, why they letting people make historical documentaries? They should make whatever document they want. They should be able to. They should be free. Penty says they should be free to make whatever movie documentary they want. Leave it up to people to decide if they want to believe it. Everyone can do their own research. Correct. Exactly. Because if we wanted to, talk about everything online that was falsified, we'd be signing petitions all day long. Yeah. So Steph Colonel says people kill me always wanting to cancel some shit. Why are they still giving money to Netflix anyway? And this is where the right puts their foot in their mouth, right? The right puts their foot in their mouth because they go around and talk about, oh, cancel culture. And what are they doing? Cancel culture.
Hotep, you're a genius. HotepJesus.com.
Is it Uchi Wally Wally or is it one mic, bro? You got to pick one. It makes no sense. This is hypocrisy. Freaking hypocrisy. You can't complain about cancel culture and then do a petition that they literally using the word cancel. It's right there. Let's highlight that just in case. It's right there. Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with my people, man. I really don't know what's wrong with my people. Shout out to my members. My members get preference when it comes to reading comments here. J.A. says another instance of letting celebrities act like they know what they're talking about. Yeah. Right on, right? Oh, we're Egyptians. Oh, we're Jewish. Like, live your life. This is not important. Just a bunch of confusion all the time because people don't read. Right. All right, let's go to the next topic. I've exhausted this. And then when I'll get to the super chats and the phone calls in just a moment. We're gonna move on to the next topic. Ron DeSantis. This is really what I wanted to talk to you guys about. I love picking apart when the left writes articles. It's one of my more favorite pastimes. It's just analyzing leftist journalism. Some people call it yellow journalism or something like that. Hold on, let me put this on the screen so you see it as I see it. Okay, so we're here. Okay, cool. Let me just see. All right, you can see it perfectly. Wonderful. So, this is Michael A. Cohen for MSNBC. And article is, what's the matter at Ron DeSantis, Florida, right? So it says here, it's a question posed by generations of Americans, whether it's throwing a live alligator through a Wendy's drive-through window or joining a Facebook event dedicated to shooting down a hurricane. The wonders are that Florida man and Florida woman have long produced wonder and amazement. Now, what this is called framing. And we're going to see why DeSantis limiting the speech of media makes sense as I walk through this article. They basically show you why you need to put a cap on these people. And I've said it before, if I was, magically became dictator of the United States of America, we would have to suspend the Constitution. I'm sorry.
Hotep, you're a genius. HotepJesus.com.
We would have to suspend the damn thing. Because the left is just out of control. So let's go through it, right? So we said framing. So the first thing they want to do is they want to put this image in your mind of how wild and crazy Florida is. So they frames it in your mind so you already have a negative view of Florida as you begin to read this article. Now they use this term here. It says, but more recently, the hot mess state. It's just this petty, right? This is petty. Michael Cohen, hot mess is something that of black vernacular, hip hop vernacular. When we were the ones that started saying hot mess. Now we have Michael Cohen here, as the left would say, culturally appropriating terms. Anyway, let's continue. But more recently, the hot mess state has turned into something far more troubling. The most intolerant and authoritarian-minded state in the country. This is how he frames this. It's calling Florida intolerant and authoritarian. Now, we all know, nobody has been more intolerant of views than the left. Nobody. How do we know this? Because I always say when you make a claim, you got to back it up with evidence. They're talking about free speech. You know who didn't have free speech? The right. PhDs. Black people. People with basic common sense did not have freedom of speech for the past 3 years. When you gave your opinions on the inoculation, when you gave your opinions on the origins of our president's son's laptop, do you know what the left and the big tech conglomerate did? They banned you. Only to later admit they were wrong about many of these things and start rolling back some of their comments. At first, they said it was Russian disinformation. Come to find out, that was false. And the list goes on. So when they say here, the most intolerant, that's just false. You would have to put New York and California into these conversations. Then it says authoritarian minded. When we had to deal with the past 3 years, where did many people go to be free? One of those places was Florida, where you could walk around without a mask on and nobody looked at you crazy. In fact, in the middle of the pandemic, when you walked around in Florida with a mask on, people looked at you crazy because they're like, what's wrong with you, bro? That's where we went to express our freedom when the totalitarian, authoritarian state told us we couldn't have any and we had to be on lockdown. So this is the left. Saul Alinsky will be doing a presentation on that in the near future, where the left blames their enemy for that which they are guilty of. Let's continue. Says here, Republican Governor Ron DeSantis likes to call the Florida the citadel of freedom and a place where woke goes to die. The reality is a policy agenda defined largely by pettiness, cruelty, and a disturbing disregard for basic democratic norms. Now, I highlighted basic democratic norms here. And this reminds me of the video I played in my Wednesday stream, where an African man says the idea of democracy is the majority get to decide how they want to live. But America exports democracy to Africa to make them conform to the pronoun agenda. When the left says or uses the term democracy, I want you to put in the chat, I want you to put in the comments, what do they really mean when they say democracy? What does that term really mean? What term could we substitute that for? We could substitute it for my way or the highway. We could substitute that for authoritarianism. Because that's really what the left means when they say democracy. They mean you won't do things the way we think they need to be done, therefore you don't have democracy. That's not what democracy means. It means people vote, and if there's a 51 to 49, the 51% make the decision. I don't like it, but that's what democracy technically means. So if the people in Florida practice democracy and vote and decide they don't want pronouns, democracy has been supported. It's being lived. It's being practiced. You cannot say that's not democracy. The left wants to come in and tell you how to live and then call that democracy. Let's continue. Last year, after Disney exercised its constitutionally guaranteed right to free expression, I should have highlighted this. Let me ask you guys a question, because I don't know the answer to this. But is a corporation protected by the Constitution? Was the First Amendment designed to protect corporations or individuals? Chat, help me out here. I thought it was to protect individuals. I never thought the idea was to protect a corporation. So I don't know how they're conflating that. Now, maybe I'm wrong, right? Maybe the First Amendment does protect corporations. But I just found that odd as I read that. And publicly criticized the GOP's legislative assault on the Rainbow Floridians, DeSantis, and the Florida legislator, struck back by revoking the company's self-governing status. Now the legislator has granted DeSantis the power to appoint a 5-person board to oversee the theme park in an effort that he said would force Disney to stop trying to inject woke ideology on children. Now, that sounds like a good idea to me. He wants to protect children. I don't know why Disney wants to teach children about sex. Well, I do know why.
Hotep, you're a genius. HotepJesus.com.
We all know why. Children are being forced to consume this type of content. Even though they try to make it seem like it's so innocent. Oh, children need to be educated on this stuff. Oh, they don't. Leave the kids alone, you fucking weirdo. Anyway. They continue to say it's hard to come up with a clear example of a political leader using the instruments of state power to punish a company for expressing its opinions he doesn't like and using that power to influence their business decisions. How about the state using its power against a former president? How about a state using its power against InfoWars?
Hotep, you're a genius. HotepJesus.com.
How about that? In recent weeks, DeSantis has widened his war on the First Amendment. So apparently this is a war on the First Amendment. He's spoken of his desire to weaken libel laws, which would make it easier to sue media organizations for defamation. I agree with that. Media organizations should definitely be subject to lawsuits for defamation. They write all types of crazy shit, man. The shit they write about me is fucking insane, bro. Fucking insane. Absolutely, we should be suing these bastards. You're destroying people's reputation. You're harming their livelihood. Do you realize that I could never be reintroduced back into society as a normal working individual because of what's written about me on the internet? They've destroyed my life. I have no choice but to be a content creator and a YouTuber and an entrepreneur. I don't have the option to go back into corporate America because they didn't like my free speech.
Hotep, you're a genius. HotepJesus.com.
The left didn't like my free speech. They didn't like a black man thinking. So they targeted me. This is what people push. So yes, I think they should be subject to lawsuits for defamation. And when I move to Florida, or if I move to Florida, or whichever state, I'm taking out lawsuits on all these motherfuckers. You motherfuckers are gonna pay. Fucking up my life. Anyway, this direct assault on the freedom of press was picked up by at least one Florida legislator who introduced legislation last week that would require bloggers who write about the state and government and its leaders to register with the state. Now, that piece of legislation I personally don't agree with. Now, that's a bit wild. I don't think something like that will get passed. I do understand the sentiment, though. I do understand it. And like I said, if you really want to reign in the left, you have to suspend the Constitution. They've completely breached the boundaries of morality and integrity. And the only way to rein that in is to suspend the Constitution because they've found some way to just sidestep and contort the Constitution. So we have to suspend the thing just to arrest this political party. So although I don't agree with it from a constitutional point of view, I get it. Let's continue. When not violating bedrock constitutional principles, DeSantis and his Republican cronies are force-feeding Florida's students to take on, force-feeding Florida's students their take on American history. No, that's not what's happening. It's definitely not what's happening. At least not wholly, because there is some initiative to establish, I would say, nationalism in the minds of kids, according to DeSantis. We've done that presentation in the past. But really what's happening is the left is force feeding our children a contorted version or a one-sided version of American history. Let's continue. Last year, DeSantis pushed through a series of bills that banned the teaching of critical race theory and blocked discussions of gender preferences in Florida elementary schools. So right here, they're telling on themselves. And I've done the presentations on the critical race theory. I spoke about this stuff extensively. I have, one of the highest viewed interviews on Fresh and Fit's podcast based upon critical race theory. I have plenty of videos on critical race theory, so we're not going to go into that. I'm saying that so you guys can go and do that research and watch those videos on your own. But it says gender preferences in Florida elementary schools. So the left is telling you their agenda. They're quite out front. Like I told you how Satan works. Satan is targeting your children. They're saying it right there. They want to put the gender conversation in elementary schools. This is why I'm homeschooling. You're not about to, shove this rainbow stuff in front of my kids' faces. That's not going to happen. Then you're going to come home talking about, Daddy, I think I want to cut my dick off. It's not going to happen. I'm not going to allow it. But they snitch on themselves. They tell on themselves. Satan tells you exactly what they're going to do. Now let's continue. Now DeSantis is expanding his attacks on Florida's public education system. The governor is backing a voucher program that would devastate the state's public schools. You know what? That sounds like heaven to me.
Hotep, you're a genius. HotepJesus.com.
Devastate the state's public schools. That sounds like good news to me. The public schools have been failing America, has been failing Americans. It's got to go. It's got to go. The Rockefeller-funded institutes have to go. We got to get rid of them. Now, listen to this. It says this voucher program would allow parents to use state money to send their children to private and religious schools or use the vouchers for homeschooling and private tutoring. What is the left saying when they say they don't like that? What is the left saying when they say they don't like the fact that DeSantis will use state money to give parents control of the education of their own children? The left is basically saying, no, we should be in charge of indoctrinating children. How dare you release these slaves from our bondage? We should be the ones indoctrinating children. Parents shouldn't be in charge of their children's education. We should be. We want to brainwash children. We want to condition children. We want to convince children it's okay to chop their dicks off.
Hotep, you're a genius. HotepJesus.com. That's
what's happening here. I love this. I love this. Putting education or the control of education in the hands of parents. I love that. So it says bills have been introduced that would ban the use of preferred pronouns at schools. Fire. DeSantis is a straight savage. I love that. Goddamn pronoun stuff, man. You gotta announce your pronouns. Oh, my pronouns are Xerxes and Xerxers. And shut your dumb ass up. Some damn pronouns. You talked about what happened to Kemet. Yo, easy times create weak men. This is what happens. When times get too easy, people become weak. This is some weak shit. Let's continue. It would also broaden the prohibitions on discussions of sexual orientation and gender identity to all pre-K through 8th grade classrooms. Again, Satan is telling you what he wants to do and who he's targeting. I just gotta I just got a text message from Joe Rogan. I had texted him earlier. He's funny. So yeah. Where are we at? They're telling you exactly what they want to do. They're targeting pre-K through 8th grade classrooms with sex and gender. Motherfuckers can't read. They can't add and subtract. They can't code. You have no real skills. You can't change a tire, can't change oil. You can't do anything. Meanwhile, you're trying to figure out what you should do with your dick. What? What? Anyway, and he's declaring war on Florida's once vaunted public university system. Last month, he unveiled legislation that would ban critical race theory in universities and diversity, equity, and the DEI initiatives, right? Again, I've talked about this critical race theory. We're not going to go back into it. What I would say is this. I like that idea. I like that idea from the standpoint of protecting people. Again, having to suspend the Constitution, because that's what he's doing, suspending the Constitution. This shit is definitely unconstitutional. I'm not even going to lie to you. This shit is unconstitutional. But in order to reign in the left, you got to suspend the Constitution, right? So, really what's happening here is you're protecting your culture from... We have to give these people a good name, man. We got to give these weirdos a good name. I'm going to think about a really good educational name to give these people. Something that really hits the nail on the head. For right now, we're going to call them weirdos. But you got to protect your families, your constituents, your citizens from the weirdos. It's just plain and simple. And in order to do that, you might have to suspend the Constitution. Because all they're doing is trying to create division. And we're going to get into division in a second here. Let me not jump the gun. No pun intended, based upon what we're about to talk about. And as if, he continues this, and is as if that isn't enough culture war waging. Keep in mind, he thinks that the right is waging cultural war. The right isn't waging a cultural war. It's definitely the left. The right is just, they're traditional, they're conservative. They're not trying to keep things the way they are, or revert to tradition. There is talk of allowing death sentences without unanimous vote of a jury. Now that I don't agree with. I don't agree with death sentences, period. I have an alternative I will not share here on a platform because, well, it might just get me banned from YouTube. But I have a great alternative to death sentences to handle people that want to do weird shit, especially people that touch kids, okay? I know exactly what we can do with these people. Anyway, it says here, allowing gun owners to carry a concealed firearm without a permit. So what you're saying is he's giving people freedom. Now, previously you said he's authoritarian and he's not giving people freedom. But here you're saying, oh, he's giving people too much freedom. Is it Uchi Wally Wally or is it one mic? Which one is it? You're a hypocrite. Talking out of two sides of your face. And a 6-week abortion ban. Now, I've said this before. I don't agree with the abortion ban. Because it's a slippery slope. And I wrote about this on menoforder.com. When I wrote about, what was it? It was, here, let's go here. What was it called? Demolition Man. And this article, right here it is. 11 dystopian parallels between Demolition Man and reality. I actually just I rented the movie just so I could write this article. Let me fix this on your screen. And I'm going to show you why I'm against the abortion ban. And it's because, the Demolition Man was very prescient. Let's see here. Right here. Population control. In Demolition Man was population control. And so this paragraph I wrote, some conservatives wish to have abortions banned by law. But this too is a slippery slope. In Demolition Man, a couple must obtain a license in order to procreate, and this must be done through artificial insemination at an authorized facility. Fluid transfer was outlawed. And that's a slippery slope I think of. You see, the state is slick. The way the state operates is if you give them authority over a particular part of your life, you know, if you basically say, hey, you can be the arbiter of life, they can not only tell you when you cannot abort a baby, they can also tell you when you cannot create a baby based upon a precedent of allowing them to have a say-so on life. Do I like abortion? No. Is it true that the left pushes abortion and that's Satan? Yes, that is definitely Satan. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's terrible what they're pushing. We know Planned Parenthood was about black extermination, coming from Margaret Sanger and W.E.B. Du Bois and all these people. So we know about their wanting to exterminate what they call undesirables. And it's very much inhumane. So outside of this, there's a moral standard, then there's a political or a I guess a political standard. And sometimes those conflict. Let's continue. Where are we at here? Okay, so one state legislator has even introduced a bill that would decertify any political party that ever included a plank to support slavery in its platform. That would include the Democratic Party, which enforced slavery before the Civil War. And this would lead to its decertification. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. They even got to admit that they're the party of slavery. Now, one would ask themselves, if somebody wanted to abolish a political party, for example, if I went to New York City or any city for that matter, and I did one of those street interview type deals where I got a cameraman and a microphone and I pull people over randomly in the street and I say, hey, do you think that we should decertify any political party that has ever supported slavery? We're going to get a majority of people say yes. You know, like, yeah. Then when you hit them with, well, do you realize that would be the end of the Democratic Party? They would go, oh, wait, hold on a second. Now you might get some people that would have some pushback because they're like, well, times have changed and Democratic Party, this, that, da, da, da. Do you really think they've changed that much? They haven't changed much at all. They've just simply become more sophisticated. And slavery has had many iterations. You have under chattel slavery, you have many gruesome aspects of slavery. But as it evolved, it became more sophisticated, where the slave owner understood that when they were brutal to their slaves, and most of the people that are brutal to the slaves couldn't actually afford the slaves. These are more of the poorer white folks who got like slaves on barter. Sometimes they were old folks, hand-me-downs, or whatever, right? Some barter that happened where they were able to obtain a couple of slaves. They didn't have a whole plantation. They may have one or two. And these are really like uneducated white folk. But when we look at the sophisticated white folk that owned slaves, they treated them like family. You didn't get the brutal parts of slavery. Some of them taught them how to read and write. Some of them even allowed them to have part-time jobs and sell things, et cetera, et cetera. And many people get in trouble. Many white people get in trouble for telling this part of history. But Democrats have become sophisticated slave owners. So they haven't changed much. They've just simply become more sophisticated. So when DeSantis says he wants to abolish the Democratic Party because they once endorsed slavery, you know what? I'm here for it. Let's continue. DeSantis' moves are transparently cynical ploy to win over Republican voters who enjoy nothing more than angering liberals with culture war divisiveness. Now, let me go back really fast. I'm just reminded here. They're saying he wants to ban the Democratic Party, but this is the same political party that's got Trump tied up in the court system right now. This is the same political party. So it's like, don't act like, DeSantis is being unfair or the only one acting like this. Because we got information on the big guy, and his dealings with the Crane and China. Hold on, where my China button at?
China.
We all found it on the laptop. We all know what happened with the emails during Hillary Clinton's run, and nothing came of that. But Donald Trump got problems with some porn star, and all of a sudden he's in court. Wait till you see what's on that laptop. Anyway, let's continue. Nor is this any less. No wonder. This is why none of my videos are monetized. YouTube's like, yeah, we're not going to play any ads on this. Anyway, let's continue. Nor is this any less hypocritical. Here's the political party that espouses the genius of the free market using the instruments of government to punish a private company and influence its business decisions. Now, when they talk about private companies and influencing business decisions, Disney desiring to push rainbowism is not a business decision. That's a cultural decision. That's not a business decision. Business decision is going to deal with, making more money. Now you might argue and say, well, Hotep, if they cater to the rainbow community, well, they'll make more money. Perhaps. Or maybe they won't. Maybe people will start boycotting when they find out what type of information they're proliferating. But why can't Disney just be about Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck? And we just keep it pushing and we leave these cultural influences out of it. These new cultural influences at that. But it's really hard to remove culture from entertainment because entertainment is basically the projection of culture. So when they say influence its business decisions, I'm like, is it a business decision or is it a cultural decision? Because when I say Disney do the whole rainbow thing, I'm like, that's not a business decision. That's a cultural decision, trying to influence the minds of children. So no, I don't agree with that. Republicans appear to be nonplussed by the fact that a party organized around the idea of a smaller, less intrusive government is pushing book bans, promoting a government-endorsed educational agenda, terrorizing teachers, and preventing women from having control of their bodies. So, of course, this is a contortion of what's actually happening. He's not banning books. He's banning porn from children. And it says here, promoting a government-endorsed educational agenda. No, actually, he's not promoting a government-endorsed educational agenda. He's actually promoting a free education agenda. Basically saying, hey, the state's going to give you money if you don't want your child educated by the state, you can educate them yourselves. Homeschooling, private schools, tutoring, private education. So he's doing the exact opposite of what this term is claiming. What Mr. Cohen is saying here. And it says terrorizing teachers. Terrorizing teachers. What? And this is what the left does when they write. They use all these hyperbolic words, et cetera, to invoke emotions as you read this thing. Again, if I had to suspend the Constitution, I would ban adjectives from all mainstream media. You're not allowed to use adjectives. And I haven't thought that thought through, because that might be impossible to write an article without adjectives. But when you start saying terrorizing teachers, I guess we gotta eliminate verbs too. No adjectives and no verbs. I guess it won't be no media.
Hotep, you're a genius. HotepJesus.com.
I'd be a wonderful tyrant. And preventing women from having control of their bodies. Now, that's like a half-truth. That's not really what they're doing. They're trying to protect children. Trying to protect life. That's really the intention here. It has nothing to do with having women control their bodies, although that is the precedent that it sets. Okay, that's the end of that. We're going to open up phone lines. I'm going to read the super chats. 202. Hold on. Let me pull the phone lines open while I read super chats. Give me a second here. Whoops. Absolutely ridiculous how the left just absolutely ridiculous. 202-596-5631. 202-596-5631. I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the chat. All right, let's read the super chats. Hotep, talk about academics and Gideon exclusive sign to Rumble streaming. Roland Martin reacting to it, smearing Rumble. They scared. Roland Martin's mad that academics signed to Rumble. I mean, Roland Martin's always mad at anything the right does. He pretty much gets paid to just cry all day about the right.
Call from
Hotep Goldstein.
Hotep Goldstein, you on the line with Hotep? What up, bro?
What's happening, man?
Life is good. Talk to me, bro.
So, well, first thing I just want to say, just real quick on the Cleopatra thing.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody out there, I don't care what race you are, what culture, religion, none of that shit. If you are constantly looking for history, for music, for the way you dress, the way people talk, if you constantly looking towards that shit for validation, you have no intrinsic self-worth. That's just the bottom line.
You have no intrinsic self-worth. Oh, that's a bar.
Yeah, because, I mean, you know, you should have that inwardly. You shouldn't be looking towards everybody, history, and all kinds of other shit for it. Correct. Period.
Correct. If you haven't found it within your own self, your own person, for example, I don't need to hear about the greatness of Africa to feel like I'm great. I am Brian Sharp. I am Hotep Jesus. I'm great because I'm great. I don't need to see no past lineage for that. That's genius. Exactly. I love that.
And as far as DeSantis, like this, the way I see it, man, and the way a lot of other people see it throughout history, I suppose, there's only really one law of the land, bro, and that's force. And all these government officials, all they are is that law, force, but with a tie. People get together, want to preserve their way of life, no matter what way of life that is, and they look towards these fucking thugs to help them do it because they're the ones with the gun. But just because they're wearing a tie doesn't mean they're any less of a monster than the Huns and shit.
Yes.
Who was it back in the day.
Correct.
All right. They just fool you with that tie.
Yep.
The fact of the matter is, DeSantis or anybody else who's trying to make legislation to right these wrongs of society, that's not their goddamn job. It's your job as a parent to raise your goddamn kids. And if the little motherfuckers don't want to listen, then just be on your way. When you get an adult, you know, live your life. Because you're a human being, you got to do that regardless.
Yeah.
But it's up to all these laws, because once you start letting them make laws, even if they benefit you, you just let the Huns in the house.
Yes.
And eventually the pie comes off.
That's true.
That's all I say.
That's true. Bars. Yeah, you coming to Hotep Con?
Man, I wish I could, but I got to run this rescue daily, so I can't. There's no time off for me.
Hey, I get it, man. The grind is serious out here, man. I appreciate you for calling in, bro. Hotep and Bill.
Hotep, man.
That's Hotep Goldstein, man. Smart brother. That's a smart dude right there. It's a smart dude. Hotep Con tickets on sale right now. HotepNation.com. Use coupon code Hotep Jesus. David Zientara, thank you for the $5 super chat. Monique, thank you for the $5 super chat. Monique said, they bring up the race debate of Cleopatra every few years, just like the release of a new slavery movie. Fact check, true. Big Poppy. An interview with Linda Catalina, a.k.a. Wake Up with Linda on IG would be interesting. She lives in Miami and like to point out the rights hypocrisy in the state. Okay. You might have to hook that up. We might have to make that happen. I think I know who that is. I think I've seen her account before. I don't know if we follow each other, but I'm let me see. Let me pop this in my browser real fast and see if I know this person. Cause let's see. Hold on. Give me a second here. Let's see. Wake Up with Linda. Oh yeah. I remember her. Yeah, I remember her. Yeah, I've seen her before. Yes. Latina. commentator, influencer, etc., etc. Yes. I think she was with Latinas for Trump too at some point, or Latinos. I don't know how it goes, but yeah, I've seen her around before. That would be a really good interview. Definitely. Let me go back. Okay, so tonight, 9:45 p.m. Eastern Time. 9:45 p.m. Eastern Time, I'll be debating with Cyprian on the dangers of AI. It's going to be really good. So I'll set that stream up here in just a moment. So hopefully you folks tune in for that. It's going to be really, really great discussion. Excuse me. What else? Pierce Morgan next week. Megyn Kelly in the future. Austin, Texas. Bitcoin Miami. Bitcoin conference. If you go to the Bitcoin conference this year in Miami, I just gave away a whole bunch of tickets. You guys missed that giveaway, but you can use my coupon code for 10% off, Hotep Jesus. And then my summer hasn't really been booked yet. I haven't been booked this summer. Maybe something to come down the pike later. But it's not exactly a bad thing, because that means I get, more time to focus on me and what I'm doing, and the fam, and maybe a little travel, and just more time educating myself. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Make sure you get your tickets to Hotep Con, hotepnation.com/Hotep Con, or just go to hotepnation.com. Go get your merch too, your Hotep Nation hats and all that good stuff. I'm going to get out of here. It's been pleasant. It's been wonderful. Hotep and Bill. And don't forget, take your master focus.
Didn't listen to me then, I bet they feel me now. Time don't let me lose it. The booth not about to prove it. I set goals and pursue it. You the best to never do it. Invest my money, talking fluent, stupid, ducking the Judas. It broke my heart, but over my eyes, you have no honor, I have no choice. Chasing the commas till I'm a goner. Been left for a minute. On my way home, mama, I promise, got caught up in it. Damn. Everybody eats when I'm batting at the plate. First, second, third, home, $1 million